Hello and welcome back to Storytime with the Lover's Path Tarot. Today, Chapter 3, Fertility, the Empress card, and we have the story of Cleopatra and Caesar. In my very first video where I showed this deck, I think I had a little mix-up. I said that Cleopatra had 3 children with Caesar and 1 with Marcus Antonius. It was actually the other way around. So, anyway, got my notes, so let's dive into the story. The story of the Egyptian queen and the Roman military commander and politician is known all over the world. Cleopatra VII was the last true pharaoh of the Ptolemy line. The Ptolemy pharaohs were of Macedonian descent, and rulers of that line had sat on the throne in Egypt for 300 years. They also only married their sisters to keep the bloodline pure. So kind of like the Targaryens, just without the dragons. Cleopatra is famous for her beauty and skill of seduction. But people often seem to forget that above all, she was a ruler. She first came to the throne at a young age and in troubled times, and used every skill she had to try to protect her people. One of those skills was cultivating the attention and support of powerful men. When Cleopatra was 18, her father died and the throne came to her. Since she couldn't rule alone in Egypt, she married her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy XIII, to be her co-ruler. Not long after their rule began, Ptolemy XIII's advisors acted against her and she fled to Syria in 49 BC. She spent a year in Syria raising an army of mercenaries and then returned to Egypt to challenge her brother's forces at the eastern edge of the country. Still getting some Daenerys vibes here. At this point, Julius Caesar enters the story. When Caesar marched on Rome to confront Pompey's armies during the Great Roman Civil War, Pompey, not to be confused with the city, fled to Greece, but was defeated there by Caesar's forces in the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC. Pompey managed to escape the battle and went to Egypt, hoping to find support. News of the battle traveled faster than he did, so the Egyptians killed him when he got there. To them, his loss meant that the gods were in favor of Caesar. Caesar followed him, but when he got to Egypt, he was greeted by the Egyptians, presenting him the head of his enemies, and he was not happy about it, blaming Cleopatra's co-ruler. Cleopatra used the situation to her advantage. She arranged a meeting with Caesar, and this is where the story of her being rolled out of the carpet comes from, when in reality she may have only been veiled. But that's of course not as romantic and, Hollywood-worthy. So they became lovers almost instantly. He put her back on the throne, which her brother did not like. A battle erupted, and the young pharaoh drowned and died. Meanwhile, Cleopatra was pregnant with Caesar's child. A son, Caesarion, his only son. By the way, Caesar was in his early 50s at the time, and married, of course. He then put Cleopatra's other brother on the throne next to her, since women still could not rule alone, and then he went back to Rome. She followed him with their son, lived there as his mistress, until he was killed. Then she fled back to Egypt. Caesarion was made Cleopatra's co-ruler in 44 BC, after the death of her co-ruler / brother / husband, Ptolemy XIV. There were rumors that she poisoned him to get him out of the way and to get her son onto the throne, and remained there until her death in 30 BC. Well, she remained on the throne. So Cleopatra's reign was pretty stable for these 14 years, as she had gained the support of one of the new Roman leaders, Mark Antony. She was 29 when she met him. They eventually married and had 3 children, despite Antony having already been married to Octavia, the sister of his political rival Octavian, as a way of consolidating his power base in Rome. So, that's that story. In the card we see a lion and a lion cub next to her throne, representing Caesar and their son. In front of her are 3 regular cats, representing the 3 kids she had with her second lover. Since Caesar was probably her true love and Marcus Antonius was only second place, we see a distinction in the cats, also signifying that their firstborn son was the last pharaoh in the Egyptian dynasty, never having fully ruled though, since he died at about 17 years of age. After that, there were no more pharaohs. So the comparison to the cats makes sense because when cats are in heat and they go around the neighborhood trying to get every male cat to engage with them, it is their way of making sure that the kittens stay alive, because every cat that she had an encounter with will then think that they're his kittens and therefore protect them and not harm them or see them as rivals. And Cleopatra was also like that. She was very smart in the way that she would use her body to lure the men in. She would get pregnant, and she would kind of use the children also as a way of solidifying her power and making sure that she and her children were protected by the man in power, whoever that was at that point. So they would fight for her and for the children. And in that sense, she is the perfect embodiment of the Empress in this tarot deck. And I think once again, the story was perfectly chosen. Next time, we will get to know the story about Arthur and Guinevere. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!